Good morning, friends. What if I told you that one of the most effective anti-drone defense systems in Europe didn't come from the United States, not from China, not even from a global defense giant? It came from a small country with a population smaller than many cities. And now, that system is quietly changing how modern wars are fought. This is Sweden's Loki system, and it's not just another air defense platform. It's fast, modular, brutally efficient, and designed for a battlefield where drones come in swarms, not singles. While major powers are still stuck in billion-dollar programs and slow procurement cycles, Sweden did something different. They built a system that works right now, in real combat conditions. And here's the part most people are missing. Loki isn't trying to be the most expensive system in the sky. It's trying to win the cost war, the speed war, and the adaptation war. And in 2026, that's exactly what modern defense is all about. So the real question is, how did a small country like Sweden build something that's now outperforming systems from global defense giants? Let's break it down. The world's biggest defense contractors just got a wake-up call from the Swedish Arctic. While global superpowers pour billions into massive platforms, Sweden's compact LOKE system is quietly achieving total signal dominance. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a lethal masterclass in how agile, specialized tech can dismantle the world's most expensive air defense. What if the most dangerous electronic warfare system on the planet isn't made by a global superpower? Tucked away in the north, the LOKE system is outperforming the titans of the defense industry through a revolutionary integrated architecture. We're dissecting how this small-scale masterpiece renders billion-dollar stealth platforms obsolete in contested airspace. Stop believing the myth that a massive budget guarantees air superiority. Sweden is proving that giant doesn't mean better by deploying the LOKE system, an electronic warfare suite that provides unparalleled edge in the harshest environments. See how this specialized technology is outclassing the world's most famous defense giants at a fraction of the cost. Here's where the story gets interesting. Sweden was never supposed to win this race. On paper, it doesn't make sense. You have global superpowers spending hundreds of billions on defense, building massive, complex systems designed to dominate every domain at once. And then you have Sweden, a country with a much smaller budget, fewer resources, but a completely different mindset. Because Sweden doesn't try to outspend its competitors, it tries to outthink them. Instead of building oversized, slow-moving defense programs, Sweden focuses on something far more dangerous: efficiency under pressure. And that's exactly where LOKE comes in. While many large militaries still rely on brute force electronic warfare, flooding the air with noise, overwhelming signals, and hoping to blind the enemy, Sweden took a surgical approach. LOKE doesn't just jam signals randomly. It detects, isolates, and disrupts only what matters. That means less wasted energy, faster response time, and far more control in a chaotic battlefield. In simple words, instead of shouting louder than the enemy, Sweden is whispering in the exact frequency that breaks them. And in today's drone-heavy warfare, that difference is everything. Now, zoom out for a second. Look at the Baltic Sea in 2026. This region has quietly become one of the most tense and technologically contested zones in the world. Constant surveillance, electronic probing, drone activity, and rapid response deployments happening almost daily. For Sweden, this isn't theory. This is real pressure, right at its doorstep. And that pressure forced a different kind of innovation. Not bigger systems, not more expensive platforms, but smarter, faster, and adaptable solutions that can be deployed quickly, upgraded rapidly, and survive in a contested electronic environment. That's the real story behind LOKE. It's not just a system, it's a response to a new kind of battlefield, where speed beats size and precision beats power. And in that fight, Sweden is no longer the underdog. Now, here's where LOKE stops being just impressive and starts becoming dangerous. Because what makes this system powerful isn't what you can see, it's what you can't. At the core of LOKE is an ultra-wideband digital receiver, and this is where everything changes. Traditional systems, especially older analog-based ones, scan the electromagnetic space in chunks. They detect signals, process them, and then react. That takes time, and in modern warfare, even a few seconds can mean failure. LOKE doesn't work like that. It listens to a massive range of frequencies all at once, continuously. It doesn't just detect signals, it understands them in real time. It can instantly classify whether a signal is a drone link, a radar emission, a decoy, or a real threat. So instead of reacting late, it's already ahead of the fight. And then comes the real breakthrough, the sensor-to-shooter loop. In most systems, detection and response are separate steps. Data moves from sensors to operators, then decisions are made, then actions are taken. That delay is a weakness. LOKE removes that gap. It connects detection directly to response, creating a seamless loop where identification, decision, and countermeasure happen almost instantly. In some cases, in milliseconds. That means a single operator or even an automated system can handle complex electronic attacks without needing layers of command or manual input. It's faster, cleaner, and far more reliable under pressure. But the real long-term advantage is flexibility. LOKE is built on a software-defined radio architecture, which means it's not locked into fixed hardware limitations. When new drone frequencies appear, when enemy tactics evolve, when new electromagnetic signatures enter the battlefield, LOKE doesn't need to be rebuilt. It just needs to be updated. New code, new parameters, deployed rapidly, sometimes even in the field. So while traditional systems age over time, LOKE evolves, quietly, continuously. And that's why its dominance is invisible, because by the time the enemy realizes what's happening, their signals are already compromised, their drones are already disrupted, and the fight is already lost.
Now, take everything we've talked about and move it into one of the hardest environments on Earth, the Arctic. This is where systems don't just get tested, they get exposed. The high north is not a normal battlefield. Signals don't travel cleanly here. They bounce off ice, reflect off water, bend through cold air layers, and disappear behind mountains and terrain. What looks like a clear signal can be a ghost. What looks like silence can be a hidden threat. And this is exactly why Sweden's systems are built differently. Because if your technology works here, it works anywhere. LOKE is designed for this chaos. It doesn't just rely on clean, direct signals. It's built to understand distorted, reflected, and masked emissions, turning the Arctic's complexity into an advantage instead of a weakness. Now, add another layer. In modern conflict, GPS is no longer guaranteed. Jamming, spoofing, and denial are now standard tactics. Many large platforms, despite their size and cost, struggle in these environments. They lose positioning, they lose coordination, and sometimes they lose control of the situation entirely. But LOKE was built with this reality in mind. It can maintain high-fidelity communication and coordination even in GPS-denied conditions, using alternative signal references, networked data, and resilient electronic pathways. In simple terms, even when the map disappears, LOKE still knows where the fight is. And then comes the most subtle, but most powerful advantage: passive detection. Unlike traditional systems that actively emit signals, revealing their position like a flashlight in the dark, LOKE can operate without broadcasting anything at all. It listens, it tracks enemy emissions, analyzes patterns, and builds a picture of the battlefield without ever exposing itself. That means even stealth platforms, designed to avoid radar, can still be detected through the signals they rely on. And the moment they communicate, the moment they link, they leave a trace. And LOKE is already there, waiting. No warning, no signal, no noise, just silent awareness. And in a battlefield where visibility means vulnerability, that silence is power. Now this is where the balance of power starts to shift, because LOKE isn't just about defense. It's about outsmarting systems that cost 3, 4, even 10 times more.
In recent multinational exercises, something unusual has been happening. Heavyweight platforms, packed with advanced sensors, massive processing power, and billion-dollar ecosystems, are entering highly contested environments expecting dominance. But instead, they're facing something far more difficult to deal with. A system that doesn't fight them head-on, it out-adapts them. LOKE, when paired with platforms like the Gripen E, isn't trying to overpower the enemy. It's constantly learning them. This is what's now being called cognitive electronic warfare. Instead of relying on pre-programmed threat libraries, the system uses AI-driven logic to analyze unknown signals in real time, identify patterns, predict behavior, and then generate the most effective counter on the fly. So even if the enemy brings a new frequency, a new waveform, or a completely unfamiliar tactic, LOKE doesn't freeze, it adapts almost instantly. And that creates a serious problem for traditional high-end platforms, because many of them are still optimized for known threats, systems they've already studied, categorized, and prepared for. But when the fight becomes unpredictable, when the signals don't match the database, that's where delays happen. That's where confusion starts. And in that moment, LOKE takes control. Now add one more layer to this advantage: speed of communication. Sweden has invested heavily in ultra-low latency data links. This means information doesn't just move fast, it moves almost instantly between sensors, aircraft, and ground systems. The result? A localized electronic bubble forms, where every friendly unit sees the same picture, reacts at the same speed, and stays perfectly synchronized. Inside that bubble, targets are identified faster, threats are neutralized quicker, and decisions are made before the enemy even understands what's happening. So even if the opposing force is larger, even if it has more aircraft, more systems, more firepower, it's operating slower, less connected, less aware. And in modern warfare, the side that thinks faster wins first. That's the real power of LOKE. It doesn't need to be the biggest system in the sky. It just needs to be the smartest one in the fight.
And this is where the story goes beyond Sweden, because LOKE isn't just a system, it's a signal to the entire defense world that the rules are changing. For decades, power in air combat was measured in size, cost, and raw capability. Bigger platforms, heavier payloads, more expensive stealth designs. But now, that model is starting to shift. LOKE represents a different philosophy: smaller, smarter, faster, and constantly evolving. Instead of building one massive platform that tries to do everything, you build intelligent systems that can adapt, update, and outthink the enemy in real time. And that idea is already starting to influence the global arms market. Countries are beginning to ask a different question: not how big is the platform, but how fast can it learn, and how quickly can it adapt? Because in modern warfare, the threat doesn't stay the same. It changes constantly, and only systems that can evolve with it will survive. Now, look at NATO. With Sweden now fully integrated, its expertise in electronic warfare isn't just a national advantage anymore. It's becoming part of a larger, interconnected defense network across Europe. That means smarter coordination, stronger electronic resilience, and a shared capability that raises the baseline for every allied system operating in contested environments. In simple terms, Sweden may be small on the map, but its technology is now shaping how an entire alliance prepares for the future. And that leads to the bigger lesson in all of this. In today's battlefield, it's not the size of the aircraft, it's the intelligence behind it. Not the metal, but the code. Because the side with the smarter algorithm is the side that controls the fight before it even begins. If you found this deep dive valuable, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories about the technology shaping modern warfare. The next few years will be critical for this program, and we'll be here to cover every development. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.